What's up, y'all? How we doing? How we doing? We in this thing again. Hope y'all doing okay. We back to it. Another one. March 17th, y'all. Tuesday. Election day in a lot of districts around the country right now. Very interesting. But on this day, we've got in 1839, composer Joseph Gabriel Reinberger was born. 1926, The Girlfriend opened in New York City. The musical ran for 409 performances. 1956, Carl Perkins appeared on ABC TV's Ozark Jubilee and performed Blue Suede Shoes. It was his first television appearance. Elvis Presley performed the song the same night on CBS TV's stage show. That would have been a big deal back then. 1958, the Coasters recorded Yankety Yak. Yakety Yak. 1962, Billboard reported that Ray Charles had started Tangerine, his own record label. 1967, Bob V recorded Come Back When You Grow Up. The Bee Gees, or in 1968, the Bee Gees made their U.S. television debut on the Ed Sullivan Show. They performed To Love Somebody and Words. 1982, Samuel George Jr. of the Capitals was stabbed to death during a family argument. He was 39 years old. Wow. 1990, Whitney Houston headlined on an AIDS benefit concert at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. 1990 as well, in Paris, the Bastille Opera opened with a performance of Berlioz, Les Troyens. 1992, White Zombies, La Sexorcisto, Devil Music Volume 1 was released. It was their major label debut album. 1997, the RIAA announced that the Eagles' greatest hits album had tied Michael Jackson's Thriller as the all-time best-selling album in the U.S. In 1998, Van Halen released Van Halen 3. It was the band's first album with lead singer Gary Sharon of Extreme. All right. So that's on this day in music history. Moving on to the news. We've got city manager in social circle locked the water meter for the ice facility there. Yeah. So that's an interesting story. We're going to get into that. Then we have day 32 for the lawmakers. They're still doing their spa shooting remembrance right now. So we're going to go into some of the bills that they went over on day 32. And southern states remain an outlier in firearm deaths. So we'll look at an article about that and see where Georgia really stands in the southern states as far as firearm deaths. All right, y'all. It's good to be here. Good to see y'all. Let's get into it. What's going on? Let's see. Ugh. That boy locked the water meter. That boy locked the water meter. He was like, nah, not today, Ricky Bobby. Yeah, that's very interesting. He said the lock will remain in place until the agency determines how water and sewer services could be provided without exceeding the city's limited infrastructure. And we was talking about this last week. You know, I've been talking about this for months. actually. But it's wild. The Social Circle city manager said water service at a property connected to U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement remains restricted because of concerns about local infrastructure capacity. I'm probably going to have to stop this. In a statement, city manager Eric Taylor said a lock has been placed on the water meter at the property. A representative with ICE was notified about the lock shortly after the property was sold when they asked how to set up a utility account. They went to the water company and was like, yo, Taylor said Taylor said the lock will remain in place until the agency determines how water and sewer services could be provided without exceeding the city's limited infrastructure capacity. According to the city, its permit allows officials to draw up to 1 million gallons of water per day from the river. Meanwhile, the local sewer treatment plant can process about 660,000 gallons daily and is already operating at capacity. Taylor said preliminary analysis from ICE indicates the facility's projected water and sewage usage would exceed those limits. City leaders said discussions are ongoing to determine how services could be provided without overwhelming the system. Officials with the city of Social Circle said they learned in early February that ICE now owns a large property and warehouse that was previously reported. Yeah, that's real. So they just going back and telling you about the facility. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's wild. The city said previously it was also informed that Homeland Security has conducted an engineering evaluation of the city utilities and that economic impact reports are being prepared but have not been finalized. Come on, man. City officials previously said they aren't initially asked for input on the evaluation of planning process. Social Circle has formally requested the information in writing, including clarification on anticipated timeline. According to the statement, Representative Mike Collins, that guy, and his staff indicated that housing at the facility is expected to begin as early as April. That's next month. That's wild. Social Circle residents rallied against the proposed ICE facility when they packed a local town hall to voice their opposition earlier last month. If you put that many people here, you obviously will have to house other support facilities, the mayor said, David Keener. We would have to have more police officers. The sheriff's department would probably have to help us with that. Basically, citizens of Social Circle do not want this. Our city council opposes this as well. Yeah, so that's a big deal. Hopefully they figure that out. But homie put the lock on the key. He was like, nah, bro, until we get a plan of how y'all gonna support this, we locking it down. So I feel that. Lawmakers Day 32 House on foreign influence on elections, remembering Atlanta spa shooting victims. On Monday, oh yeah, we know. In the House, members took up Senate Bill 177, which would require employees of some foreign governments to register with the State Ethics Commission if they are involved in politics and report their political contributions. Affected governments include North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran. This bill regulates political activity, not business activity, and that distinction is important. Joseph Gillette, Republican from Dallas, said this bill applies to political activity connected to governments that are designated as foreign adversaries by the United States Secretary of Commerce. If a person or entity is acting on behalf or as an agent of a hostile foreign principal and engaging in political activity in Georgia, such as lobbying government officials or attempting to influence public policy, they must register with the State Ethics Commission and disclose that relationship. Some Democrats raised concerns that the bill would have unintended economic consequences. When a company's legal team looks at a law like this and sees the mandatory registration, public discourse requirements, and the risk of major penalties, simply for engaging in policy discussions, some of those companies are going to think twice about relocating to Georgia. Long Tran, a Democrat from Dunwoody, said. Interesting. That's an interesting bill there. Um, yeah, I don't think it needs to be. I don't think that's a big deal. You're creating problems. You're like creating more problems, but whatever. It passed. But it was usually stuff be passing unanimously, so there was a lot of opposition to 177. Senate Bill 160 would allow some drivers with suspended license to get back on the roads. This bill today is about behavior change. Clint Crow, Republican from Jackson, said intelligent speed assistance devices are devices that prevent an operator from exceeding a preset speed. Creates a pathway for a person with a suspended license due to a reckless stunt driving conviction to apply for a limited driving permit by having a ISA placed on their vehicle. The bill passed 130 to 26. The House also unanimously passed a bill to establish a special license plate honoring Girl Scouts of Georgia. House Bill 535, which increases the penalty for tracking fentanyl. Wow. It makes it very clear that if you possess 4 or more grams of fentanyl, you're going to be dealt with severely. 2.5 years minimum to 10 years maximum, and the penalties go up to 35 years, depending on the amount of substance or fentanyl mixed with other substances that you have. Bill Cowsert from Athens, Republican from Athens. Very nice, very nice. Okay. I'm not against any of that. Yeah, let's move on down. Burt Jones, it also brought a rare response from Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor. The Third Amendment, let's see, language to incorporate, causing Democrats to withdraw their amendment and help pass the bill unanimously. All right. HB 1000 will provide a one-time tax rebate to state income taxpayers who paid in 2024 and 2025. This benefits Georgians by giving back $250 for individual filers, $370 for heads of household, and $500 for those married and filing jointly. Senator Bo Hatchett. Let's see. This is a good tax refund giving Georgians back their money. It also passed unanimously. Let's see. And then they remembered the spa shootings. Monday was also the fifth anniversary of the Atlanta spa shootings. The deadly shootings in March 2021 killed 8 people at Atlanta area spas, and 6 of those killed were Asian women. The Asian American Pacific Islander caucus had a memorial. These were lives that were taken from us too soon. Michelle Democrat from Johns Creek, said, those we lost were people who were deeply loved and needed, and whose stories embodied a vibrant picture of the America those of us who grew up in the immigrant community know well. And that was on St. Patty's Day. Oh, that's today. Interesting. Yeah, that's that. So they got some things done. Fentanyl bill, Girl Scout license plates bill. Yeah, some other things. Very nice, very nice. All right, moving on. Still doing more than the National House, so I can't hate too much at the moment. Let's see what's up with this. Women's mental health tied closely to economic stressors in these 5 metro Atlanta city or counties. My bad. A new study from the Atlanta Women's Foundation found a strong connection between mental health and economic challenges women and families are facing. Where you live matters when it comes to mental health outcomes, according to a new report from the Atlanta Women's Foundation. The report, The Status of Women and Youth Mental Health in Metro Atlanta, analyzes conditions in Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett counties using surveys, focus groups, and interviews with nonprofit providers, caregivers, youth, and behavioral health experts. The findings show that mental health outcomes are increasingly shaped by geography. Clayton County definitely stood out to us as the area with the greatest challenge, said Fiona Bell, chair of the Atlanta Women's Foundation Board, noting how interconnected mental health is with other barriers that women and families are facing who are living in poverty. For example, more than 62% of renters in Clayton County pay more than 30% of their income every month for rent, making this the highest rate of housing cost burden in the region. The mental health provider ratio in Clayton County is more than 3 times worse than the national average. The study also examined youth disconnection, which means teens that are not in a job and they're not at school, Bill said. We're not exactly sure what they're spending their time doing during the week. Bill said there's about 11% of teens that fit in that category in Clayton County, which is nearly double the rate than in Cobb. Women in Clayton County reported the highest average number days spent depressed as well, depressed and anxious. But mental health challenges rarely exist in isolation, but exist alongside economic stress, housing instability, childcare burdens, and access to affordable mental health care. All of those things are interconnected, Bell said. And while conditions vary from county to county, we believe that we need to treat sort of the whole people or whole person. Treat sort of the whole person. Interesting. And look at all of those barriers and work on solutions that can support each of those matters to be able to improve the mental well-being of women and youth in our community. The report notes Gwinnett County's rapid population growth with housing cost burden rates above 60% and significant language and access barriers for immigrant families. Real. DeKalb County is also facing high housing pressure, population density, with women reporting more than 5 poor mental health days per month on average, and a high share of women serving as multi-generational caregivers. While Fulton County has stronger provider availability overall, more than half of renters are still cost burdened, with elevated needs concentrated in South Fulton. Finally, AWS report shows comparatively lower youth disconnection rates in Cobb County, but affordability pressures remain significant, with housing and child care costs driving growing demand for mental health services. Very interesting article there. I appreciate that one. Ellen Eldridge. Ellen Eldridge. Yeah, thank you for that. A very insightful article there. Southern states remain an outlier in firearm death rates. Where does Georgia fall? Rates among young people are still higher than pre-pandemic levels, with lingering disparities. Nationwide data on gun-related deaths among young people shows a slight decline from previous years. Recent data published by KFF Health News points to a rate of firearm deaths among U.S. children of 3 out of 100,000. In 2024, that amounted to the deaths of 2,228 kids. That's slightly less than the previous 2 years, but still higher than pre-pandemic levels. By far, the most firearm-related deaths were a result of assault, followed by self-harm. Even though there are some shared root causes of those, we do need to think about prevention strategies for them separately, said Jonathan Rupp, professor and director of the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory University. For example, at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, RUP, says screening tools for kids in the emergency room can help identify their risks of suicide and self-harm, including access to a gun. If that access exists, the hospital provider provides resources on safe storage. For prevention of gun violence, partnerships with community health workers and violence prevention groups are key. There are multiple street-based programs that are going on in the city, Rump said. Some of those are school-based as well. These are generally people who are survivors of violence themselves. Many of these programs that do direct outreach are federally funded and facing an uncertain future due to cuts made last year. There's a lot of discussion about where we find funding to go forward, Rump said. In some southern states, the rate of kids whose death involved a gun from 2020 to 2024 is almost double the national average. Georgia ranks almost the top 10 for states with the highest increase in youth firearm deaths over that time frame, up 68% from about 7 years ago. And there are disparities. According to the Georgia Department of Public Health, black youth were over 4 times more likely to die from assault than white youth in 2024. National trends are similar, with firearms leading to the deaths of black children from ages 12 to 17 at almost 10 times the rate of white and Hispanic children. We are a part of the solution. At Grady Memorial Hospital, Dr. Randy Smith leads a violence interruption program for children and adults. We're almost done. And the whole idea is that we don't just take care of their bullet holes, but we focus on caring for all of them and looking at the social and the economic and the environmental factors that may have led to their injuries in the first place, Smith said. The Centers of Disease Control Prevention defines gun violence as a public health problem. Assessing risks includes taking all of those factors into considerations. Smith said the goal of violence intervention programs in hospitals and more locally is to reduce. Reduce. Smith said the goal of violence intervention programs in hospitals and more locally is to reduce or end cycles of violence. At Grady, that's measured in part by re-injury rates, or the rate of patients who return to the hospital with a violent injury. Grady's re-injury rate currently stands at 3% on average, Smith said. It's less than 2% for gun violence injuries. We don't want anybody coming back in re-injured. But I think that only tells part of the story, Smith said. We have people who were hungry, who are no longer hungry. We have people who needed to be relocated for safety measures and that are relocated. That's a win. Okay. All right. Interesting. Thank you, Sophie. Appreciate it. Moving on. Interesting. All right, y'all. We're going to get into the musical portion of this broadcast. Seems like the gun deaths are pretty high. I mean, out of 50 states, we in the top 10. But they are coming down, which is a good thing. It's a great thing. Let's get to this music, man. I always like to put some little ambient something in the back. You know what I mean? Mess that up. Uh, Line my guy up. Line him up. Line him up. I'll line this guy on up. Think that's all I got for y'all today, man. I'm just trying to set up my drums over here. You know what I mean? If this actually works. Gotta do it from the beginning. Won't work. I'm done, y'all. Once again, love y'all very much. Hope y'all have a wonderful Tuesday. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around y'all. Take care of your loved ones. Hold on to them. All right. I'm out, y'all. Peace.